everyone, and welcome back to Casual Climbers, the podcast by and for beginning hikers. I'm your host, Donna Patrick, and alongside me is my husband and adventure buddy, Roy.
Good morning.
Good morning, Roy.
So in this podcast, we provide you with tips, tricks, and reviews of some of the many hiking trails in the Blue Ridge and Greater Appalachian Mountain region. Now, we may be unfit hikers, but we do love the outdoors, and we want to share our experiences with you. In today's full episode, we are in North Carolina and discuss Grandfather Mountain State Park's Grandfather Loop. We also have a supersized fun fact segment about Grandfather Mountain and review a nice Scottish restaurant minutes from the park's entrance. So what do you say, Donna? Ready to get started?
Let's go. So here's Grandfather Loop by the numbers. The distance is 1.65 miles and it's a loop. The time it took us was 2 hours. 1 hour and 32 minutes of that was moving time. The lowest point was 4,980 feet. The highest point was 5,423 feet. So that's a 443 feet elevation change. The friendliness, pets are allowed, and it's not at all mobility friendly.
Nope, not in any way.
The parking lot is mobility friendly, and that's about it.
Yeah, and you can, the only mobility friendly part of this is the parking lot, and if you go all the way up to the top, where there's the top shop, and you can get to the swinging bridge. They have an elevator to take you up there, but we'll get into all that here in a minute.
Yeah.
So first, to get there, search for Grandfather Mountain in your map app, and that's going to be in Linville, North Carolina. Now, this does require admission and a reservation, so we highly recommend going on their website and making a reservation.
If you were in the military, then you do get a military discount.
There's AAA discounts, there's senior discounts, there's a number of discounts that you can get. And in my opinion, and I may be speaking for Donnie here, well worth every dime.
We love Grandfather Mountain. We've been there a number of times since we moved here.
We go at least 2 or 3 times a year.
Yeah. And if we lived closer, we'd be going more often.
Probably. Yeah, we'd probably get one of their annual passes that they sell. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So there are several parking areas at Grandfather Mountain. Basically, the trail or the road goes all the way up to the top, and it winds up the mountain and curves. There's hairpin curves. There's all kinds of stuff. But the best one to start this trail, in our opinion, is at the Black Rock parking area, and it is marked. So you will see it. It's about 3/4 of the way up, and it's a big parking area, paved. There's probably 100 spaces there.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge. There are no bathrooms there, but there are bathrooms a little down below at the visitor center that has a cafe, and we're going to talk about that in our fun fact. And there's bathrooms at the top.
Yeah.
So if you need to go, my recommendation would be to stop at the gift shop on the way up.
Yeah.
Go park, do the hike, and then, if you need it again, stop on the way back down.
Yeah, it might even be a good idea when you stop at the gift shop that's midway up the mountain, use the bathroom, have your lunch, because you're going to be hiking your lunch off. Or I mean, that wouldn't have worked for us because we got there very early.
But yeah, that's a great place to eat.
Yeah.
They've got a cafe. They'll make fresh food there. They have sandwiches. They have burgers.
Or you can bring a picnic lunch. And,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we're going to get into that gift shop / cafe / interpretive center here in our fun fact. But let's just start off with the trail. Let me say this. This might easily be one of my top 3 favorite hikes that we've done on the podcast and even before.
Yeah.
I loved every second of this hike.
Yeah, I did too. I would do this again. It was challenging.
It's not an easy hike. It's when we went, it was cold. It was December 7th. It was very cold, and there was snow on the ground, which was wonderful.
Yeah, we were pretty excited about the snow, not so excited about the ice.
There was patches of ice.
Yes.
A number of patches of ice. So if you're doing this in winter, it will always have ice on it. So be very careful.
It's so tough to figure out your gear, right? I believe I had both of my hiking poles because I knew about the ice and I wanted some extra stability. And of course, wear the right shoes. We have things like yak tracks and things to help you from slipping on the ice, but it was not enough. I mean, we were able to pretty much hike around the ice.
The patches of ice were small.
Yeah.
Small enough that we could avoid them. And the few that we couldn't, it was only like 1 or 2 steps on it. So I agree, it wasn't worth wearing, the ice
The cleats or
tracks.
whatever, yeah.
Mhm. So it this is a hike that truly, honestly feels like a mountain hike. And we've done some hikes in the mountains that don't really feel like it. Like we covered one last week, or it might have been 2 weeks ago. The Sinking Waters Trail.
Yeah, the one we don't
That did
recommend.
not at all feel like a mountain hike.
I mean, yeah, having been a Floridian and taking walks in Florida, it was way better than that. And you are on a mountain and you did get some vistas through trees and stuff. But this one, the Grandfather Mountain hike that we did, so much better.
In literally every single way.
Yeah.
There are rocks that you have to scramble up. There are views all over the place. And we're not even talking about the most amazing view, which is at the top, right? We're just talking about along the trail views.
Yeah.
It is a spectacular trail. I loved every minute of it. And we saw bear tracks in the snow.
We saw all kinds of tracks in the snow.
We saw deer tracks. We saw bear tracks. You saw
bunny tracks or
raccoons.
Raccoon tracks.
You saw little bird tracks,
yes,
which you loved.
I love
the little tiny bird tracks.
Yeah, they're like hopping around in the snow. That's when you get there first thing and it's just been a light snow. That's pretty great.
Yeah.
I love
it. Gosh, it was so wonderful. The trail.
I'll put those pictures of some of those tracks on Instagram.
Yeah. We'll put them on Instagram, all the pictures. So when you first start out on the trail, it immediately starts out as a mountain hike. So right off the parking lot, you got to go over rocks.
So let me just say this too. We went, okay, so how do you say it? Because you can go either way. You can cross the road and start the trail across the road, and that's the easier path. That's the path up to
both ways, either counterclockwise or clockwise, will take you up to the swinging bridge.
Right.
We went counterclockwise.
Yes.
It's the harder part first.
Yes.
So that we didn't have to go the more difficult part on the way back.
True.
And I recommend doing that. But yes, since it's a loop, you can absolutely go either way.
So if you want this to be an easier hike and you just want to get up to the bridge and back hiking, then you could go clockwise, just go up and not make it a loop, just go up to the bridge and then come back down the same way. That's the easier way.
It absolutely is the easier way. So if you wanted just an easier path, do exactly what Donna says. The clockwise first half is way easier than the clockwise or the counterclockwise first half.
Yes.
So the way we went, the first half was much more difficult than had we gone clockwise. So if you're going to do the whole loop, and I highly recommend doing the whole loop, go counterclockwise. Start at the parking lot. You'll see the signpost there, and we'll put pictures of that on Instagram so you know where to look at. And do that section, because that section was so fascinating to me. Not only do you get vistas, not only do you get a challenging hike, not only do you get rock formations, but you get stuff that we have not seen anywhere else on any of the other trails. So there's one part where you're scrambling up a long sloped rock or series of rocks. And there are posts embedded into the rock with cable that you can help pull yourself up with.
Yeah.
That's something new we have not yet seen. And honestly, I needed it because some of the rock parts were iced over. Not a lot, but some of them were. And so I used that cable to help pull myself up. That incline's pretty steep. It's like a 24-degree grade.
That was the one place that I was questioning my decision to have 2 hiking poles, because I did use the cable to pull myself up as well. But what I did was I just collapsed one of my poles and put it in my backpack. And
you could have, you have the wrist thing. You could have just let it dangle at your wrist, but then it's kind of in your way.
Yeah, you don't want things in your way when you're an unfit hiker and you're trying to
keep your footing and
traverse
not roll down a mountain. Yeah. I was really excited about this hike beforehand, and it blew away my expectations.
Yeah.
So once you get past that little rock scramble, then you start to see these amazing rock formations. And there are so many of them. There's, I don't know, probably 6 or 7 different rock formations. There's one that looks like a cave. There's one that overhangs the trail, and you have to climb over a rock to get past it. This trail had everything for me.
Yeah.
It had everything for me that you could ask for. It had snow, it had vistas, it had rock formations. It was challenging. It felt truly like a mountain hike.
It did. You climbed up on one of the big boulders, and I took a picture of you. I was not going to climb up there with the ice and the risk of falling. And yeah, sometimes it makes me nervous that you're the one with the Jeep keys in your pocket.
You typically bring an extra key with you, just in case you decide to push me off.
Just in case you happen to fall off a mountain with your antics.
Yeah, with your air quotes, happen to fall.
Also, there was this one boulder situation where it was far enough down that I ended up having to sit down on the boulder, dangling my legs off the side of the boulder to sort of just slide down to the next lower one to climb down. And I wasn't mentally prepared for that. I think if we had been going clockwise to get up, that would have been...
We would have had to pull ourselves up.
I have no idea
put
how
our knee up and yeah.
And also I sat down in snow to get down off of that, so my butt was cold after that. But
yeah, it's such an interesting trail.
It is.
I remember thinking along the way, I love this trail. This has everything that you could. The only thing it didn't have was a waterfall.
Yeah,
but that's quite literally the only thing it didn't have. Everything else that you could ask for, it had.
And just the drive up to the parking area takes your breath away.
Yes, absolutely it does. The whole Grandfather Mountain Park,
whole experience
is incredible.
Yeah.
So a little more than halfway through, you get to the top of Grandfather Mountain. And so the top of the Grandfather Mountain, there's a big parking area.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a gift shop there with bathrooms. But most importantly, there is the mile-high swinging bridge.
Yes.
And we're going to get to more about that in the fun fact. But this kind of making that trek up that first half, going counterclockwise, your reward is the swinging bridge.
Yes.
As if you didn't need any more, you get this as your extra reward. Tell us a little bit about the swinging bridge. I know you're going to cover it in the fun fact.
I am. So the way that we did the hike going counterclockwise, I believe you do more than half of... Not only is it harder, but it's also probably like 3/4 of the hike.
It's about 2/3.
2/3?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So I was ready for a reward. And also, okay, so as you're approaching the parking area right before the swinging bridge, that was a little bit challenging. Those boulders, you're scrambling over huge boulders, and there was like arrows pointing on the boulders which way to go, because
it is not a clearly marked trail at all at that point. No.
Yeah, because it's just figure your way around these boulders to get down to that parking area.
Yeah, you just have to figure your way out. And it wasn't easy.
No.
It wasn't easy. There were some 16, 18-inch step downs that you had to try to find the best, the least dangerous way to get down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is by no means an easy hike for anybody.
I saw people, every single time we've come to that parking area, because a lot of times we'll just drive up to the swinging bridge and just go see the swinging bridge.
Right.
Well, this is the first time we've done a hike at Grandfather Mountain. A lot of times from that parking area, I will see people scrambling up those boulders to go on that trail. I had no idea what was behind those boulders. And I'm so glad that I know now, because it's pretty amazing. But it's not easy.
No, it's not easy. And if you are mobility challenged in any way, you're not doing it.
You're not even getting close.
No, I don't
think
so. It's very difficult to get up or down those rocks.
Yeah.
Either way.
Yeah. But I will say, if you are mobility challenged, you can drive up to that parking area, and there's an elevator that will take you up to the swinging bridge.
Yeah. Yeah. You could totally do it in a wheelchair.
They are concerned for, I think it's the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Mm-hmm.
They do want people that are in wheelchairs or whatever to be able to experience the awesomeness of nature, which I think is a great thing.
I think it's great. Yeah. I mean, there are stairs that take you up to the swinging bridge, but there's also an elevator for those who struggle with stairs. So, yeah, regardless of your mobility level, we can't recommend enough going up to the Mile High Swinging Bridge.
Yeah.
It's simply beautiful. On the one side, you're overlooking Blowing Rock and Boone, and then on the other side, you're overlooking the Blue Ridge Mountains, and it's so glorious. We have taken so many pictures there.
Yeah.
We have one hanging up that we blew up to poster size in a photo print hanging up in our house.
Yeah.
That's how gorgeous these views
place
are.
Yeah. It can get very, very windy. And if you, okay, so.
And it's cold almost all the time.
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, it could be July and you might need a sweater, a jacket.
We have needed a sweater or jacket every time we went.
Yes.
Regardless of the time of year. Yeah.
Yeah. So if the sun is behind clouds, if it's windy, so you can, Linville is the closest town or city. So you can check Linville weather, but on the Grandfather Mountain website, it will tell you at any given moment, it can be 10 to 15 degrees cooler up there.
Easily. Yeah. And much windier.
Yeah.
Much windier. The wind, sometimes that wind will whip up there.
Yeah. So on that first part of our hike, I set out, I was definitely warm enough. I bring a backpack in the winter when I hike to put things in, hat, glove, scarf, whatever, as I'm getting hot on the hike. And I did that when I got to the top and wanted to just sit and be in awe of the views from that bridge. I had to put everything back on again because it was cold.
Yeah, it's freezing up there. And the gift shop is really nice. It's got a lot of, typical gift shop stuff.
The bathrooms are nice.
There's there's snacks and drinks up there that you can get.
Yeah.
The main cafe is down below, obviously. That's the one you're going to want to go to.
Yeah, for an actual sit-down meal.
Yeah, or real food anyway. Yeah. So that's the Swinging Bridge. Spend as much time as you want there. Don't feel like you need to rush back to the hike. But when you're ready to go back to the hike, it starts again. The loop continues right under the Swinging Bridge. So you walk under the Swinging Bridge.
Yeah.
And that back last third was pretty easy, honestly. It was kind of a gentle slope down.
After what we experienced that first, what'd you say? It was 2/3?
Yeah, it's about 2/3.
Yeah, that last little bit, I was like, why didn't we just come this way and then go back? Because
I would have missed the first 2/3, and
yes,
I love the first 2/3.
It was beautiful. I loved it too. We would have missed all of the animal footprints in the snow. We would have missed.
Yep.
There's a little walking bridge to go across, a little boardwalk kind of thing. Not really a bridge, I guess. And yeah, it was beautiful. The vistas were beautiful.
The rock formations were amazing.
You and your rock formations.
I love the rock formations. They're so fascinating to me. Yeah. So the one caveat to this is the trails are not always well marked. So I recommend downloading the map on All Trails or Komoot ahead of time.
I noticed from after the bridge part and going back down to the parking area, I noticed that there were certain places where it was like partitioned off and it was like, hey, don't go this way because we're trying to let the vegetation grow or whatever. They're trying to let it get more natural. So I think that little bit between that last 1/3 that we did, I think that is more well traveled. It seemed wider. It seemed
a little easier to follow.
Yeah, more popular because...
And I think there were some trailblazers on that one too.
Yes.
And there weren't always trailblazers on the one going counterclockwise on the first 2/3.
Not that we saw.
Yeah. I mean, I think there was some...
There was...
At the very end of the, right before you get to...
The boulders.
The Swinging Bridge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, so that's my pro tip for this particular trail. Download the map ahead of time because there are several trails that will spur off of this one, and you could easily get turned around. So if you want to do this particular loop, definitely grab the map beforehand. And I'll put it on Instagram, the route that we took, so you can see what it looks like for yourself. Mm-hmm. So, Donna, would you recommend this?
I would recommend it 100%.
I would almost force people to do this. If you are a hiker and you want to experience mountain hiking, I can honestly say I don't think there's a better trail than this.
Unless you want a waterfall.
Unless you want a waterfall.
But that's more, for us, I think that's more of a summer thing.
Yeah, because we like to get in the water.
Yeah.
and experience the water, and I'm not doing that in 20 degrees. So, yeah, I loved every second of this trail. It was so much fun. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Top to bottom, a great trail. And it wasn't so the first 2/3 I would say were feel the burn just because of the rock scrambling.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree. I kind of want to go back and do this in the summer.
I'm totally on board. I'll do this once a month if you want to. I love this
We
trail
can
so much.
experience this trail at least once
Yeah.
every season. I want to see it in every because honestly, in fall it
I
probably
bet
is.
it's spectacular in
Yeah.
fall. Yeah.
And spring with the flowers. So yeah, we'll
Yeah,
have to do
'cause
this.
there were rhododendrons and mountain laurels up there.
We'll have our Casual Climbers podcast quarterly meeting doing this hike.
Doing this hike.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we highly recommended Grandfather Loop at Grandfather Mountain State Park. Highly recommend. It is a feel the burn hike just because of the rock scrambling. Not mobility friendly, but by all means, just enjoy this hike as our little gift to you.
Yeah.
So Donna, what's your fun fact about today?
I am so glad you asked. So today's fun fact is all about Grandfather Mountain. So here are some early explorers' fun facts about Grandfather Mountain. Did you know that early explorers, including Daniel Boone, was known to hunt in this area in the 1760s?
That does not surprise me. That guy got everywhere.
Yeah, he did. He was all over the map.
He was all over the place.
Also, French botanist André Michaud climbed Grandfather Mountain in August of 1794. He wrote in his journal, "Reached the summit of the highest mountain in all of North America, and with my companion and guide sang the Marseillaise, the French national anthem, and shouted, 'Long live America and the Republic of France. Long live liberty.'"
So this was right after the Revolutionary War, right?
Yeah.
In which the French helped us beat the British for our
Right.
independence. It's interesting, though, that he would just automatically assume that this is the tallest mountain. It's high. It's a big one.
It looks like it's the tallest mountain. Wait,
It does look like it,
we've
but
been up there.
the tallest one on the East Coast is not that far away.
Okay,
It's Mount Mitchell.
yeah, but, this guy didn't really,
No,
I'm sure he was overcome with emotion.
I could totally see it. It's spectacular up there.
I would say some very colorful things in my journal about Grandfather Mountain, especially hiking to the summit back in 1794. There were not trailblazes and paths and
I
stuff.
don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so.
I'm pretty sure there were bears and cougars and all kinds of things that
Elk, mountain lions back then?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let him have his moment.
No, okay.
Also, let's see. Yeah, you're right. So Grandfather's Callaway Peak, it's 5,946 feet above sea level, and Grandfather Mountain appears taller than its neighbors because of the abrupt way that the mountain rises above its surroundings. But you're right. Mount Mitchell is 6,684 feet, and it's located 40 miles south.
Yeah, I mean, you could see it
Yeah.
on the top of there. But, I mean, I can see how you would think.
Yeah. I
It
felt
looks-
like I was on top of the world when we were halfway up the mountain. Okay. Now, here are some Scotland fun facts to do with Grandfather Mountain.
All right.
Yes. Every July, thousands of tartan-clad warriors descend on McRae Meadows in the shadow of Grandfather Mountain for the annual North Carolina Highland Games.
We have not yet been there.
I know, and it's
And
a travesty. It's an
We've
absolute
done
travesty.
a ton of Highland Games. This is one we have not, and I think it's one of the biggest, right?
From its humble beginnings in 1956, the Grandfather Mountain Highland Games has grown to become the largest Scottish Games in the United States, and by some accounts, the largest outside of Scotland.
That does not surprise me.
Yeah.
You and I have driven to Grandfather Mountain and gone up when the Highland Games were going,
Yeah.
and that field is massive.
And it's
there are
full.
so many people there.
So it's
Yeah.
so full of people. Yeah. And everybody who goes says, you've got to go. You've got to go. It's so much fun.
yeah.
It's so great. So-
I just want to go and get some haggis.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
No.
You remember I had haggis, authentic haggis, one time in Winter Park, Florida at a Highland Games. And it was legitimately good.
Okay.
And then I had it 3 times after, and it was the worst thing I've ever put in my mouth. So I wonder what happened.
I don't
wonder
know
what-
how legitimate the haggis was because the FDA has said that we can't make haggis in
Well,
this
not the way they
country.
make it, in Scotland.
Yeah.
It should not be consumed by anything. But it was so good that first time that I had it.
Okay. I mean, and from what I understand about haggis, everybody has their own recipe, so you can tweak the recipe. It's almost like a soup kind
Like
of
a
thing.
stew.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
but yeah. Okay.
Sorry, didn't mean to hijack your
No,
fun
no.
fact.
It is okay. So this is more than just athletic events. All manner of Scottish heritage is on display at this remote spot in the Appalachian Mountains. The location itself is very much a part of the festival and provides a connection to Scotland. Because, surprisingly, the Appalachian Mountains and the Scottish Highlands are part of the same mountain range.
Is that true?
Yeah, so according to scientists, over 300 million years ago, before the continents drifted apart to make the world we know today, they were both part of the central Pangaean Mountains.
That is fascinating.
Yeah, early settlers may have seen the similarity to stories of their homeland.
I can totally see that. And I don't know if you're going to cover this, but the term hillbilly
Yeah,
comes from Scotland
yeah.
when they were King William followers
Hmm.
and they lived in the hills, so they called them hillbillies. And so that just migrated down here to the Appalachians.
Yep.
That's where the term hillbilly came from.
Yeah, the Scottish roots of Western North Carolina run deeper than just geography. Both Lowland Scots and Highlanders found new homes in the Carolina colony. Lowland Scots came to North Carolina after first immigrating to the Ulster region of Ireland under James I. But conflict soon emerged between the Protestant Scots and the Catholic Irish. I know that's hard to imagine that was the case.
A religious conflict?
Yeah.
No, can't picture that.
Yeah. So Protestant Scots and Catholic Irish, that's a conflict that still persists today.
Yep.
Yeah. You may have heard about it in the news.
Yeah.
So
The IRA was
Yeah.
originally born out of that. Yeah.
yeah, many of these Ulster Scots they later chose to immigrate once again because, things were not.
Not going great in Ireland.
Yeah. But this time to the New World, arriving first in Philadelphia, many of these Scotch Irish, as they became known, settled in the Philadelphia area and began building new lives. As more and more Scots arrived, they gradually moved down the coast and found rich farmlands in North Carolina. They soon became the largest ethnic group settling in the Carolina backcountry.
Totally believe it. And so, listeners, for a little personal information here, my ancestors come from Scotland and settled in North Carolina. So my Scottish clan, we hailed from the Lamont clan, Lamont. And so, it's great. We did an ancestry DNA thing several years ago, and I found out how much Scottish I am. And so I just got deep into it, and I got a kilt. I have two kilts, actually, with the...
It sounded like you said I got killed, like
I
killed,
got
like
kilted.
killed.
No, I got two kilts, and it's the Lamont Tartan. And I love going to the Highland Games. I'm part of the Clan Lamont Society of America. So I can totally see. And you travel up there. There's a lot of Micks, McRae, McDonald,
Yeah.
McDougal. There's a lot of Scottish people in Western North Carolina.
And my ancestry goes back to the Johnston clan. And I think it's Johnston, but
right?
It can have an E or not have an E. And I think the T in it is supposed to be silent. So Johnson. And I think that's why it started getting spelled just without the T, because I don't think you
Because it was just being left off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a story about my Scottish ancestry, something to do with a man who I think he had a wife and a kid, or maybe just a wife, got into a fight with, I think it was a coworker. And my relative, my ancestor, hit this guy in the head with something, like a board or something, knocked him out, thought he killed him. So he did what anybody would do. He came home, told his wife, I think I killed a man, so let's go to America.
Is that true?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's one of the stories that I've heard. And if that happened, I kind of wonder if it was a conflict over religion. I don't know. It could
have been a conflict over anything.
Could have been a conflict over Scotch whiskey or something.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Guy took the last drink. Yeah.
Yeah. But there's another family story that my ancestor was the second son of a wealthy landowner. And back then when the father died, the oldest son inherited everything and then kind of just took care of the rest of the family. So this would be the second son that I'm related to. And the story goes that my relative thought since I'm not inheriting any land or anything, I think I'll go to America and make my way in life. So those are the two stories that I've heard floating around in my ancestry.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to choose to believe the first.
Well, the Johnson clan we were borderlanders.
Yeah,
so
you
we
were border raiders. Your clan was right on the border of England and Scotland.
Yeah, Great Britain. So we had to be fighters. So
yeah, there was constant border skirmishes. Constant.
Yeah. So maybe don't mess with the Johnson, I guess. I don't know. My mom, when I was little, she used to have something called a Johnson hissy. Trust me, you did not want to see it.
Norma, if you're listening, I've never seen you have a hissy fit, but I kind of want to. I bet it's amazing.
I'm sure it's just bordering right, like under the surface.
Oh, it's
for
just
me.
bubbling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So watch it.
So maybe I'll just poke the bear one day. see if I can get her to have a tantrum.
So by 1780, the Scots in America became caught up in the westward expansion. This is when they started going, because the population in the east was growing and farmland was becoming scarce. So both lowlanders and highlanders moved to the Appalachian Mountains. So they were like, too many people here. Let me just go over. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, why would you live in coastal North Carolina when you could live in the mountains?
Well, back then, I would imagine it's going to be quite hard to farm in the mountains.
I would.
You
think
have
so.
to.
So they're probably in the foothill area to farm that land.
I mean, they're probably introverts and just trying to get away from people.
That's me. That would be me.
I will dig through rocks.
Yep.
To farm.
I will grow sticks off of rocks if I have to. Yep.
So perhaps they sensed a connection with their ancestral homelands because they sought to preserve their Scottish culture and way of life. So they were so successful in creating this Scotland in the New World that Gaelic remained a spoken language in North Carolina right up until the First World War.
That's incredible.
Yes.
So Gaelic was a common language.
A spoken language in North Carolina
Western North Carolina.
until World War I.
That's amazing.
I would love to hear that. So it's the spirit of preservation that led Agnes McRae Morton and Donald F. MacDonald.
Angus McRae?
Angus McRae Morton. Yeah, Angus McRae Morton. And Donald F. MacDonald.
Those are very Scottish names.
Yes. Yeah. I think
Angus McRae.
Yes. I think that's, about as Scottish as you can get.
Yeah.
They held the very first Highland Games in the United States at Grandfather Mountain in 1956.
Nice.
It was a one-day event, but it's grown to encompass more than an entire weekend and showcase so much of Scottish culture.
Yeah, it's like 4 days now.
Yeah, I think Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So why have we not gone? Clearly,
it's not that far away from us either. Yeah, I know. It's that's on me. I'll own that.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
You should be.
I should be.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now let's change gears. There's a movie fun fact about Grandfather Mountain. Many people might not know this, but Grandfather Mountain is a movie star. When Robert Zemeckis, I think it's Robert Zemeckis, was scouting locations for the famous Forrest Gump running scenes in 1993, he fell in love with the curvy mountain road on Grandfather Mountain.
Yeah, how would you not?
I know.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would want to run it, but I am in love with that road.
I run down is fine. Running down would be easy.
I don't know. So despite running at only 5 seconds within the entire film, the scene of Forrest Gump running up Grandfather Mountain has left a mark on moviegoers.
Of course it has. That's like when you think of him running, you think of him running Grandfather Mountain. It was only 5 seconds?
It was only 5 seconds.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Gump's ascent up Grandfather Mountain comes a little after the halfway mark of the iconic sequence of him running across the country. It's during his run up what is now known as Forrest Gump Curve.
That's right. There's a sign.
Yeah.
It says Forrest Gump Curve.
That first depicts a crowd of followers pursuing Gump as a vibrant evening sky illuminates the Blue Ridge Mountains in the background. In the film, Gump's run begins after Jenny leaves him, and he ends up running for 3 years, 2 months, 14 days, and 16 hours. His inspirational journey across America teaches the viewing audience that in order to move on, you first have to put the past behind you. The impact of the film and Grandfather Mountain's role in it has been felt to such an extent that even to this day, Grandfather Mountain staff are occasionally met by people retracing Forrest Gump's long-distance journey across the country.
I have heard, and when we're in that in the visitor center area, I have heard people ask about the movie
Yeah.
and where he ran.
Yeah.
I have heard it myself 25 years after this movie came about.
Yeah, it's well marked. It's got a sign there
Oh, it is.
commemorating.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. You just have to go a little bit past the visitor center.
Yep.
But yeah, so more common than people running up this same path is people driving up this famous switchbacks every day and yelling, "Run, Forrest, run!"
I myself
The
have
window.
done that. I myself have done that.
Okay, strangely enough, Forrest never actually ran that curve. But don't be too disappointed. That curve was run in that movie by a Hanks. The film star Tom Hanks is not depicted running up Grandfather Mountain in the movie. Due to a scheduling conflict, Tom Hanks' brother, Jim Hanks, filled in for the movie star during a clear October Saturday in 1993 when the filming took place. But that's not where the story ends. That day, Grandfather Mountain staff had been informed that Tom Hanks' brother was going to be his running double since the actor was working on a film in South Carolina at the time.
Can you imagine how disappointed you would be?
I wouldn't be disappointed. I would love to meet any Hanks. They all seem like really, really genuinely nice people.
They do. They really do. And his son Colin Hanks,
yes,
he's a fantastic actor in it, and by all accounts, a
that
good
whole
guy.
family just seems really sweet.
Yeah, they do. Absolutely right. But if you're going there expecting to see Tom Hanks,
well,
and then they say on the day, "Oh yeah, he's not coming,"
if I'm working at Grandfather Mountain, I don't know how much I'm going to expect to be in contact with a film crew or anything like that. I'm probably
maybe.
I
mean, maybe.
But but there was a surprise to the staff. Tom Hanks actually showed up anyway, even though he was able to break away and show up anyway.
Mm-hmm.
He ended up having a day off from filming and was so inconspicuous that only one staff member actually spoke to him. She wouldn't have known who he was if he hadn't introduced himself.
So this staff member was just talking to somebody, and Tom Hanks says, "Hey, I'm Tom."
Yeah.
How great is that?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is so awesome. I kind of imagine Keanu Reeves being like this too. I hear all kinds of stories about him. Like just
every story you hear about Keanu, he's a great guy.
Yeah. He was like waiting. Keanu Reeves was waiting in line to go into a party that was for him. And he was waiting in line with everybody else. And the people that were checking people at the door didn't know that Keanu Reeves was.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. And he was going to just wait in line. He was going to wait his turn because, nothing.
Because he's a dude.
Yeah.
He's a regular guy. Yeah,
yes.
that's great.
So I kind of put Tom Hanks in that category. Just like, yeah.
You never hear anything about him being a jerk.
Well.
So, like, everything you read about him, he's just so gracious to his people.
I mean, unless you read QAnon stuff, but I don't read QAnon stuff.
Yeah, well.
Okay, so here's the things to do fun fact section. One of the top highlights and memories of visits to Grandfather Mountain Nature Park is walking across the famous mile-high swinging bridge. Since 1952, visitors have oohed and awed at the bridge's 360-degree panoramic views.
It's spectacular.
It's amazing. Just don't get blown off the bridge if the winds are high. Although they do close down. They do
shut it down if the winds are really bad. But we've been up there when the winds are whipping at like 30 miles an hour, and they still let you cross. Now, so let's be 100% clear. There is a rail on the bridge, or on both sides, so it's very safe. But they still turn it off if it's too bad.
I think wind, snow, ice. I think there are certain parameters that they'll say, hey, no, the top is closed. On those days, if you've made a reservation and paid for admission, I believe you have a choice to come back another day, or sometimes you can go halfway up and still
get to the visitor center and the interpreters. Yeah,
not the very top.
Right.
So this is America's highest suspension footbridge that gives this access to the spectacular views.
That's incredible. The highest suspension bridge. That's really
in America.
Great.
Yeah, the elevation is 5,305 feet. So that's, hence the name. It's
mile high.
Yeah.
Yep.
The 228-foot suspension bridge spans an 80-foot chasm at more than 1 mile in elevation.
Yeah, you can look down when you're in the middle, and there's a painted line that says you're 1 mile up.
Yeah.
And you look down, it's a long drop.
Yeah.
This
I
long drop.
always think of Shrek, and I always think of the donkey.
Don't look down.
Looking down.
And that suspension bridge swings a little.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I
No,
know
I mean,
I always mess with you as we go across and swing it a little bit.
it's not fun.
It's very fun.
It's not.
I have a blast doing that.
Okay. I'm glad you get some
I
entertainment
do.
value from it.
A lot.
Okay. To reach the mile-high swinging bridge, drive the 2-mile winding scenic road up the mountain to the summit parking area by the top shop. Climb 50 stairs next to the parking area to reach the short pathway to the bridge.
Or take the elevator.
Or take the elevator. And I think the elevator is in the top shop. I've never taken the elevator.
Yeah,
okay.
it is.
It takes you to the 3rd floor for a level walk to the bridge, and it will take your breath away.
Absolutely will.
Yeah.
Hands down.
So beyond that,
As if that weren't enough.
Yeah. There's also a Grandfather Mountain environmental habitat that allows you to see cougars, which no longer live in the wild on Grandfather Mountain, black bears, bald eagles, river otters, and elk.
So we've been through there a couple times.
Yeah.
There are people online who swear up and down that there are cougars or mountain lions on Grandfather Mountain, saying that they have seen them in the wild.
I
don't disagree with them.
It's possible.
I totally agree it's possible.
It's possible. I'm not going to think about that, though, because you want to go on that hike again.
We will go on that hike again. I mean, I will. You're welcome to come with me.
I might take the easy way up. Observing these animals up close in their native settings, it's easy to imagine what it would be like to come face to face in the wild. I mean,
yeah, so it's like this little zoo.
Yeah.
But the habitats are pretty big, especially the bear habitat.
Yeah.
It's pretty big.
And we got told that they switch out the bears. So there's, I think, 6 bears, and they switch them out 2 by 2. So you don't have bears exposed to humans watching them all the time. Just like, I think maybe 6 weeks at a time or something.
Something like that.
But you get the information. And like they do a presentation for each animal.
Yeah, there are, I don't know if they're zoologists, but there are interpreters.
Yeah.
Probably volunteers. I think the one at the bear was a volunteer.
I don't know,
Anyway.
but they get to feed little snacks and treats to the animals to get them to kind of come up closer to where, and it's not like a fence necessarily that's separating
You're up
it.
above.
Yeah.
They can't get to you at all, but you can see them pretty good. When we were there the last time before this, the bears stayed far away.
Yeah.
You could still see them, but they stayed pretty far away.
They have their favorite snacks, and I think they can smell them from pretty far away.
Yeah, wasn't it watermelon that they liked?
I can't remember. I think
that's
peanut
what it
butter was one.
Yeah.
I don't know, but anyway, it's really fascinating. I love seeing animals and being near animals, but I get sad in actual zoos when I see actual cages,
Especially when they're small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this place made me happy because the area that these animals had was really significant.
The only one that I felt was too small was the elk enclosure.
Maybe, but they might have also like
There could be a much bigger area where they let them
Yeah.
go, but elk are massive
Yeah.
creatures.
And
They
you-
are huge.
Yeah. I didn't know that they shed their antlers, and you get to hold their antlers.
Yeah.
So
The
not antlers that are attached to an elk. These are elks that have.
yeah, they're not going to just give them to you.
Yeah, they've been shed, but they're pretty significant.
They are heavy. Yeah, elk are massive. And one of my favorite things there too is they have an otter exhibit.
Yeah.
And so it's this big pool, this concrete pool. It's huge. And there's an area that you can go down below the water line, and there's this big window that you
Yes.
can watch them swim, and they look like they're having so much fun.
Yeah,
They're swimming around, and they'll come up to the glass and play. So it's that whole little habitat. They don't have a lot of animals. What 6 bears, cougars, an eagle, elk, and otters, I think is about it. They might have a couple more. It's not big, but it is, and it doesn't cost extra, which makes
Right.
it great. So your admission covers it. So it's well worth it. And it's right there at the interpretive center that has a little gift shop and the cafe.
Yep.
So it's, if you're going to park there to eat, go there, eat, use the bathroom, watch the videos about Grandfather Mountain and the surrounding ecology, and then go look at the animals.
So it is paved all the way through where you would be looking at the animals. So you could I would recommend a mobility scooter if you're wheelchair bound or anything, because it's paved, but it's a lot of up and down.
Yeah.
So even walking it, the grade I noticed the grade when I was walking up and walking down. I don't know if anybody wants to push a wheelchair
up
or
that,
even
yeah.
try and wheelchair themselves. Going down might be fun.
But you go down, you're going to sling yourself into the elk enclosure.
Or the bear enclosure.
Oh, God.
But yeah, so so this all kind of starts at the Wilson Center for Nature Discovery. And it's located about halfway up the mountain. And so that's next to the wildlife habitats. So this Wilson, I guess there was a previous nature museum that so it doubles the size of the original nature museum.
Nice.
And more than a dozen new state-of-the-art interactive exhibits are there to explore the natural history, flora, fauna, geology, and weather of the mountain. So there's a lot of, you can touch this for little kids, you can interactive exhibits.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Educational, interactive, fun. I mean, if you have a kid who's into this kind of thing, they're
going to love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to love it.
So the center has a pretty amazing design. It really makes the most out of Grandfather Mountain's natural surroundings. They have these really large walls of windows, which have stunning views from them. And that's where you're eating in the cafe. These walls of windows.
Absolutely. So so there's tables outside that you could just go and enjoy the weather and the views. But if it's cold or you just want to break, they do have these massive wall windows. Mm-hmm. So you can totally look at the surrounding area. It's a beautiful place.
It is. And really nice bathrooms in there.
Super clean.
And plenty of stalls.
Yeah.
So that's the Cadillac of the bathrooms on Grandfather Mountain is there. So yeah, after touring the exhibits or, before, depending on when you get there, take a break for lunch at Mildred's Grill. Find souvenirs, outdoor gear at the outdoor gear and art in the gift shop. They have, t-shirts, and they
have a lot of local
artists.
Yeah,
right?
But specifically what I'm thinking of, every time I go there, they have locally made jams, jellies, preserves.
Yes.
I got pickles there last time.
The jams have really funny names too. I can't remember what they were.
They're so good.
I think one of them was called Toe Jam.
Yeah. The last time we went there, I got some hot pickled bologna, which I'd never had before. And I loved it. It was so good. And it's all made local.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend going there. It's beyond the typical gift shop fare. They've got local artisans and local delectables that you could just partake in. It's pretty great.
It is pretty great. You can also watch films in there and attend fascinating programs inside the ADA Accessible Auditorium. So the Americans with Disabilities Act Accessible Auditorium.
And the parking lot there is huge too.
Yeah. So that's my fun fact.
That's great, Donna. Thanks for that fun fact. Grandfather Mountain has so much to offer. For the admission price, I think you can get in for like $22 to $25 per person. 100% worth it.
Yeah.
100% worth it. So once you're done at Grandfather Mountain, or maybe you're going to visit in the afternoon, be sure to stop by the Tartan Restaurant, which is minutes away from the entrance in Linville. It's like 3 minutes away from the entrance of Grandfather Mountain. It's real close. And the Tartan Restaurant is a Scottish restaurant.
Yep.
And it's only open for breakfast and lunch, 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. So if you're going to get there early, because the park, I think, only opens at 10. So it might be 9. Check the website. When you make your reservation, you'll have to put a time in. So you might want to go grab some breakfast first and then go to Grandfather Mountain, or do Grandfather Mountain in the morning like we did.
Mm-hmm. And then go there for lunch.
Which is what we did.
Yeah.
So the address is 31 Coffey Road. That's Coffey Road, Linville, North Carolina. Now, they don't have a website of their own, but they do have a Facebook page that has all the information you need. It's facebook.com/The Tartan Restaurant. All one word. So their primary thing is they're known for their amazing burgers. Now, when you and I first went here, I was expecting kind of traditional Scottish food,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not really what we got. It was
American
food
Yeah.
with a Scottish twist. But not to say that's bad.
No, it was really, really good.
Yeah, it was good. And so they have great burgers, all different kinds of burgers.
And prices are good, but listen, they had a daily special, and Roy and I both got the daily special, and it was meatloaf, 2 veggies, a drink, and a dessert for like $13.
It was very cheap.
It
It
was so cheap, and I mean, I couldn't finish everything. We definitely brought stuff home, but let me tell you, I have had bread pudding, and then I've had bread pudding. Their bread pudding was the best bread pudding I've ever had.
Their bread pudding was amazing. I got mac and cheese as my side.
Yeah.
And I could not eat enough of it. It was so good.
Yeah. And their meatloaf was not bad.
No, the meatloaf was pretty good. I'm kind of a meatloaf connoisseur.
Yeah.
So I'm a meatloaf snob. I think my meatloaf is probably better. But but I'm also not making it for 200 people.
Right.
So, yeah, the food's good. They have great sandwiches. So you can get burgers of all different kinds, or you can get deli sandwiches like Reuben's and Monte Cristos and stuff like that, or regular clubs. Their menus, you can find their menus on their Facebook page, so you can check it out beforehand. They've got traditional breakfasts. I think there's a Scottish breakfast on there with sausages, so check them out. One neat thing about this place is the ambiance was really nice too.
Yeah.
They're decorated in tartans and there's Scottish paraphernalia
Plaid
all over
carpet.
the place.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really neat. And also what's neat about it is it's right next door to a Scottish shop.
Yeah. Like authentic Scottish stuff.
Yeah. It shares a parking lot with this Scottish shop that you can go and you can get scarves and
pins
and mugs and kilts.
Yeah. There was a lot of little stuff for kids too. Like there was a little kid's kilt shirt and
yeah. So we have a grandchild on the way, and I am gonna deck that sweet little girl out in as much Scottish stuff as I can. She's gonna have a little scarf when she's born. She's gonna have this little Lament Clan scarf that she's just. I can't wait for our little granddaughter to be born.
I don't know if she's gonna really appreciate the significance of it for a few years.
You don't know that.
I don't know that.
You don't know that.
I don't know that.
Yeah,
but maybe.
So we had lunch there and it was great. And the special, you and I don't eat a whole lot, so we both had enough leftovers for dinner that night. So we had it for lunch and dinner for one meal.
Yeah, a $13 meal.
Yeah, it was really good. So. It's the Tartan Restaurant. Donna, would you recommend it if you're there?
100%. Yeah.
100% I would too. Linville's a very small community. There's not a ton there. But if you're there, heck. Yeah, I mean, you basically have to drive by it.
Yeah.
To get to Grandfather Mountain.
We've driven by it to get to Grandfather Mountain many times, and this was the first time that we stopped.
Yep.
And I will be stopping there again.
Yeah. I think next time we're going to go for breakfast.
Okay.
Stop for breakfast next time.
Get a Scottish breakfast.
That's right. So, Tartan Restaurant on Coffee Road in Linville, North Carolina, we recommend. So that's our episode this week, guys. Grandfather Loop at Grandfather Mountain in North Carolina. Easily top 3, one of my favorite hikes. I can't recommend it highly enough. You get a challenge, you get vistas, you get rock formations, you get an interesting mountain hike, and then at the pinnacle, you get this mile-high swinging bridge. It is a winner, top to bottom for me, and I can't recommend it highly enough.
Yeah.
Please, please, please do this hike. If you're even within 5 hours of this place, go to Grandfather Mountain and do this hike.
Yep.
We also had a massive fun facts.
Yeah.
By Donna, which were amazing, talking about Grandfather Mountain, the huge, massive Scottish Highland Games that are there every year.
We have to go.
I agree.
Okay.
And then we talked about the Tartan Restaurant, which is real minutes from the entrance of Grandfather Mountain. Breakfast and lunch, good prices, great ambiance. You can't beat it.
So, yep. Thanks so much for listening, and please like and subscribe us in whatever podcast app you use, and be sure to leave us a review because that's how our show grows. Feel free to check out our trail photos at casualclimbers.com or on Instagram at Casual Climbers Podcast. If you have a question, comment, or just want to drop us a line, you can reach us at casualclimberspodcast@gmail.com.
So, Donna, I'm thinking about really embracing my Scottish heritage and just going kilt all the time.
Really?
Yeah. But traditionally worn, like nothing underneath. Do I have the legs for it?
You do?
That was very non-committal.
It was very non-committal.
That was non-committal. What are you saying?
I'm not saying much of anything right now. I am really pondering. I like to take my time and think about things before I.
This is a very hurtful conversation for me right now.
I don't understand why.
This is a very hurtful conversation.
You want the truth, right?
I mean, kinda. All right, Donna and I are going to go to therapy now.
Okay, that dress does not make you look fat.
It's a kilt, Donna. It's not a dress. You know what? We'll see you out on the trail.